Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter and this is James.
Hello!
And today we're talking about volume 21 of Jujutsu Kaisen. After briefly rounding off the story in the Sendai colony and introducing us to Charles Bernard, this volume quickly tosses us straight into the Tokyo number 2 colony. More or less right away.
Yeah.
Where we see Kinji fighting Charles, we see Panda fighting Kashimo, followed by a brief chapter of Panda having his internal change, I guess you could say. Then Kinji fights Kashimo, and we catch up briefly with Maki and Noritoshi at the end.
Yeah.
And the volume ultimately finishes off by showing us a big old worm who's apparently joining the culling game as a player. That's all we know right now. Or, well, very summarized, that's all we know right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the cliffhanger for the next volume, but yeah, just not another volume of just a lot of fighting, very very violent fighting.
A lot.
But as we established before, this is definitely turned into a tournament arc of sorts.
Yeah, for sure.
And his ability to give so many of these characters unique abilities is once again on full display.
Yes, it's continuing. So I guess we'll just move right into the character discussions, starting of course with Kinji Hakari. This guy uses skill to grab hold of luck. And I love that. And of course this mad lad has such a bonkers domain expansion like that.
Yeah.
Like with the arcade.
It's wild.
Thing. Yeah.
Oh man. Honestly, I'm gonna be. Here's another honest moment for you. Whenever we get these new domain expansions, I kind of get myself ready or like grit my teeth. Okay, this is gonna be a long explanation here, and maybe I'm not gonna understand it all. But Hakari's was clear enough. All I had to understand was that it was a pachinko machine, and that if he got Nietzsche, he was close to getting a jackpot, right? So you understand those rules. You're pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of in betweens. Like, if he gets 3 even numbers, odd numbers, then he has a higher chance of getting a jackpot in the next turn. It's like.
Right.
So many little details that I wouldn't know, especially as a non-pachinko player.
Right.
But regardless, it totally matches Kinji's love of gambling, and honestly, it gave a good reason why Gojo said that he was one of the strongest sorcerers out of his students.
Exactly. Finally, we have like some very clear, I guess, evidence to support that. And yeah, it was just very fun to see Kinji kick ass with this technique, and I think it'll be so awesome to see this in the anime in the future.
Yeah.
Not just for the action itself, but for the music as well, because there's music accompanying him when he gets the jackpot.
Right. There are even lyrics. Didn't he also give lyrics to? I mean, almost nonsensical, but
yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna do that. I feel like they have to.
Right.
Yeah.
They gotta stick to those lyrics now in the anime
Yeah.
whenever they come to it. Yeah. Right.
I'm excited to see how they adapt that.
Yeah.
Well, not just the music, but the domain expansion in and of itself.
How
that will be played out.
It's very fun.
That being all said, do we know what his curse technique is exactly? Like, were you able to pick that up at all? Because he has incredible high energy output when he gets that jackpot, and he basically becomes invincible. And he's able to use, the reverse curse technique.
Right. His body automatically protects itself in all sorts of crazy ways during that. Yeah.
Yeah. So is his curse technique just the domain expansion itself? Then how is he able to I guess effectively go hand to hand with Yuji? back then?
Well, I think his standard fighting, or whatever you want to say, I think is boosted thanks to him having. I believe he has, or at least my standing theory since last time is that he has just naturally high and curse energy output,
Right.
just in general, and then obviously it becomes many times higher during his jackpot period or whatever. But I believe just in general it is very high as well. So I think that helps him just naturally, spontaneously most of the time anyway.
Okay.
Is my theory. That said though, speaking of like what his specific curse technique might be, I was thinking, I guess it's not impossible for it to just be the domain expansion. Maybe that is all, and maybe he's just,
I don't know,
just actually naturally lucky. But I was thinking, what if it's something similar to side ponytails, and that his curse technique is luck.
Oh,
somehow, not in the same way as side ponytails, but
right,
but in his way, and that how that obviously then would work very well along with his domain expansion. Maybe.
I like that. Is it possible for him just not to have a curse technique that all he's able to do is utilize curse energy and then have a domain? Can people who don't have a technique have a domain?
Good question.
I don't know.
Hopefully we'll find out.
Either way, it was really cool to see, and yeah, hopefully we'll find out. But bro lost his arm in the end. He came out victor, but lost his arm.
He did.
But apparently he can get it back?
I mean, yeah, like next time he hits the jackpot, he will regrow it, right?
I guess, but how does he hit a jackpot with only one arm, one hand?
Oh, that's a good question. Right, yeah, because he does require both hands to initiate the expansion.
I think that was the reason why Kashimo cuts off his hand, was to stop the jackpot.
Right.
Or well, he sacrifices his hand, but Kashimo is going for that hand anyway.
True.
That may make sense.
I suppose Shoko could maybe heal it, restore it, potentially.
I guess he would know of Shoko.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's just thinking like, I'll get it fixed somehow.
Just that positive attitude.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So one way or another, he'll be fine, I guess. But yeah, he really was the MVP of this volume, in my opinion, at least.
Absolutely.
Like, not just was like all that great action from him, so much fun to see, but he beat both Charles and Kashimo, like just back to back. And I thought it was very fun to see just all the close calls that he found himself in, that he was able to turn favorable in the end. Just shows that this dude really does have incredible luck, and whether that's natural luck or if it's a curse technique, I guess we'll find out.
Well, like you said, I use skill to grab a hold of luck. I love that line.
Yeah.
It is it's such a great way to look at it. I mean, I would never have the balls to say that, I'm so skilled that I grab a hold of luck or anything like that. But I commend him to have the confidence to say that.
Yes, it's awesome. But anything else on Kinji?
No.
Then moving on to Panda. This poor teddy bear took a severe beating from Kashimo.
Absolutely wrecked.
Yes. But now, tell me, James, how do you feel about not getting to see Panda's sister in action properly?
It's a bit anticlimactic, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I for those who've been listening to the podcast, I've been really eager to see his sister because I felt like it was such a tease in that he had this third form, technically, that even he says in the manga is more feared than his brother Gorilla. Now, I mean, we got to see her briefly, and it looked like she would be a really strong defensive tank of some kind, but in the end, took one lightning bolt through the face and it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it was like anticlimactic. And now that sister and brother seem to be gone from Panda
Precisely.
entirely.
Yeah. Right. By the way, I loved that little chapter. It may be my favorite chapter of this volume. Like I loved the well I guess Gorilla's character mostly, just seeing
Yeah.
how like that, like the tough facade kind of, but toward the end you understand that he really does care about his little brother.
Mm-hmm.
After all,
He's just
it's
an awkward little boy, you know.
yeah, right. It's really heartwarming
Mm-hmm.
and really sad. And and yeah, from here on out, it's looking like Panda's own soul is the only one remaining in within his body. So I'm well, and I guess with that, I'm really looking forward to seeing well more of Panda, because we did see him a little bit after that, but I'm looking forward to see more of him to find out just how different he is now compared to before, since he doesn't have the two other souls to keep him stable anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, is he out for good in terms of fighting?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, how
Hmm.
could he possibly measure up to any of these sorcerers that that
Yeah.
they'll face going on,
Uh-huh.
unless somehow losing his siblings and oh shoot, I forget his name, his father,
Yaga.
Yaga, uh, lead to his growth? How does losing them lead to his growth, if at all?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm open to seeing how that pans out, but maybe he stops being a sorcerer in general and just becomes a friendly panda. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where he goes from here. How do you have a life outside of the Jujutsu world
Uh-huh.
as a sentient stuffed panda? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Which is why I'm very excited to see. Well, yeah, as you said, firstly, or for, yeah, for one, how he will manage, what will become of him, but also how he has changed, maybe in his mind, I guess. Like how has he really changed now?
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to find
I
out.
mean, I've always liked panda, so it's I hope it's not to the detriment of what I liked about Panda,
Mm,
him being a deceivingly strong character,
mm,
but also very funny and goofy as a panda. I liked all those things about him.
right.
Um, I imagine the goofiness will still be there. Like he'll still be silly.
Mm,
I just don't know about the deceivingly strong anymore.
right. Right. And but who knows though? I guess maybe something unexpected will happen that will make Panda strong again somehow, but in a very different way, maybe.
Uh huh.
Because I think it would be kind of fun to see, because this internal thing that we got to see of him and his siblings, it very much pointed out kind of to us how, I guess
They were kind of holding him back.
that's not what I was about to say, but I guess
Oh.
maybe maybe I guess you could, because Gorilla thought he was spoiled in how he only got started crying when the Triceratops sister came around
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. But then the big sister pointed out that he's strong, I guess, in the way that he always forgives his big brother and all those
Mm.
things. So obviously, I think he has a strength in that regard that is of the panda soul, the one that is remaining.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's also very sensitive
Mm.
and maybe not physically strong. Probably not. I
Hmm.
don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Hmm.
well, to go along with that, maybe he was relying too much on his siblings. I mean, in the beginning of the story, he was definitely fighting him as himself, and then if he got hurt or something, he was switched to his gorilla brother. But maybe he was fooling himself or convincing himself that my brother and sister are the better ones to handle this. Like they're the ones who are capable, who's strong enough. But in reality, pandas can actually be, in a different way, much stronger than they are, and that's what he'll discover. Don't know.
Right. I mean, something along those lines I would love to see.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's all on him?
Yeah.
Then moving on to Hajime Kashimo next, a sorcerer from the past whose dream is to fight Sukuna.
May I quickly say that he's not a girl. He's a boy. My bad. I definitely said it sometimes a she.
I see.
Because for some reason I thought Kashimo sounded like. Okay, here's the issue. I didn't realize his first name was Hajime. Hajime is, as far as I understand, is usually a boy's name. So
right.
I didn't put that together. And I just saw the design and it kind of looked. It's the stupid shirt that he draws. It's the same thing with Yuta. Yuta kind of has a shirt that sometimes looks like there's, a chest area,
right.
if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. It has happened at some point. I actually didn't remember you having referred to Kashimo as a girl, but I think it's fair, like, without really knowing the character, which we didn't really before this volume. I mean, I think we may have heard the full name Hajime Kashimo, but only briefly.
Yeah.
And the design is very androgynous, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Regardless, dude is strong.
Oh yeah.
And it was really ferocious to see him in action.
Yeah, it was a blast. Literally, I guess. But apparently he can only use his curse technique once, whatever that curse technique is, because he's saving it for Sukuna, which I think is such a fun little thing.
Yeah.
Which makes me feel like he's here to stick around for some kind of Sukuna showdown. And it kind of reminded me of how Jack Sparrow is saving his one bullet for Barbossa in Pirates of the Caribbean. Which is another thing I'm a big fan of, so I thought that was funny.
Yeah. I do like that. Yeah, and his electricity with his curse energy, that was really cool. I mean, he got a lot of mileage out of that. For not being his curse technique, wow.
Yeah.
He got a lot of mileage out of that.
Right. Yeah, it's impressive.
It was also really cool to see the original him.
Yeah.
And you. We also saw you too. I mean,
right.
Obviously in just one panel, but
that was very
fun. Getting to see the sorcerers of that period is nice.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think that would be the Heian period. I don't know which period it'd be, but but Kenjaku was on his original body. Like he seems to be just as old as Sukuna. So
precisely, yeah. He had been around at least when Sukuna was there, maybe even longer.
Yeah, maybe even longer. You're right.
Precisely, which was Sukuna's time was 600 years before Kashimo's time.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Kenjaku, Tengen, and Sukuna know each other quite well.
Right. I think that makes sense as well. But I do hope we get to see more of these little flashbacks, like, to the original old sorcerers.
Yeah.
Because even though it was only a few pages, like, it was so cool to get that little glimpse. And get to see, like, for example, how when he awakened in present day in the new body, he did a little something kind of similar with his hair, for example. Like,
right.
Which makes sense, like, if you used to wear it that way back then yeah, makes sense you'd want to do something of that sort now too.
And I wonder if it amplifies his electricity in any way, like antenna. I don't know. Right. Just a thought I had.
At least it kind of looks like it could.
Yeah, I gotta look the part.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at, like, the cover art of this volume, it looks very much like the two antenna on Kashimo are like there's zapping between them and whatnot. But yeah, he did sort of join the protagonist's side after Kinji defeated him at the end here.
Right.
So that's fun.
Yeah. As long as he gets to fight Sukuna.
Precisely. Which I I hope he will.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see his curse technique. You can't
Right.
just hype it up like that and not show it.
No way.
I mean, look, unless someone comes along and it's just unbearable to Kashimo somehow, we're not going to see that curse technique until he gets a chance to fight Sukuna. But yeah.
That's all there.
Yep.
Next, let's move on and talk a bit about Charles Bernard, an aspiring mangaka born to French parents but was born and raised in Japan. And he recently gained the ability to see a second or more into the future.
Oh, your Japanese is really good. No, your Japanese is really good. What?
That was funny.
To be fair, like, that is a common thing. You know, a lot of people who look like foreigners will get complimented for the Japanese, even though they may have been there for years or never even knew another place.
Right.
They've grown up in Japan their entire lives, so that's the only language they speak, or things like that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a funny joke to throw in there. Although, of course, I think Charles took it a little too far, as he seems to do.
Yeah. He's a weird character. I don't know what to really think of him, but so my initial read on him was that it was like a self-insert of sorts by Akutami.
Yeah, I kind of got that feeling
on some level, at least, and I don't know exactly. Like, I'm not invested particularly in the Jujutsu Kaisen fandom, and like I don't know what a lot of the fans have to say about a lot of the things in the manga necessarily. But I wondered if some of the critique that the editor was giving Charles are similar to some of the critique that Akutami has gotten for Jujutsu Kaisen.
I wonder.
It was just a question I got.
Or maybe previous pitches he had.
Oh yeah.
For stories. I don't know. I'm not sure what his. I haven't looked into his career at all, but yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe he was expressing some of his own experiences or frustrations with the mangaka world.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think he was just creating this really goofy character. Who was trying to be threatening, I guess. But, I mean, when you're up against Hakari, it's... I mean, that threatening goes away real quick. Like, quickly becomes overwhelmed. And then by the end, he sees Nishimiya, and he's like, "Ooh, witch girl!"
Exactly. I love that. Yeah, I don't know to what extent he's gonna stick around.
Yeah.
But at least based on what we've seen of him in this volume, to me he felt very much just like a kind of a filler fluff character.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I could see him being around for one-liners and things like that. I just don't see. Maybe he'll have a little fight with some enemy, and he's kind of the character I could see being killed off at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't care much for him, but But who knows? Maybe he will grow on me.
No, I mean, I could not see him again. I'd be totally okay.
Yes. Oh, yes. But I guess that's all there.
Yeah.
Then let's talk a little bit about Yuta Okkotsu. After finishing with Ryu Ishigori, Yuta has collected 190 points. And it turns out that he let both Ishigori and Uro live.
Doesn't he have 200 points?
No. It did confuse me as well, because there was like an asterisk after it said 190 that said like plus 10 for the Kururushi, which is confusingly explained. because it seems like that would be 10 plus the 190 that is mentioned in the narration. But then there's an extra page between, well, after that chapter and before the next one in the physical book, that clarified that Yuta left Uro and Ishigori alive with 1 point each remaining, so that they wouldn't have to kill someone in order to survive the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it tallies up all the points, and it sums up to 190. So I guess it's 190.
That's so strange. Because in my version it says Yuta Okkotsu now has 200 points.
Really?
Yeah. And the asterisk says includes 20 points for destroying Diru and Kurourushi.
What? Huh.
I know. Strange.
Very strange.
But I mean, look, you have the official volume, so, or I mean, I have the official chapter as well, but you have the printed volume. But I'm inclined to believe that. That being said, 190 seems really, really strange. Like, why only 10 less? Like, I mean, I guess it's just what happened, but why not give him the full 200? Like, what? What's stopping him?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what this translator thought it too. It's like 190. That's stupid. We'll give him 200.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I maybe. Yeah. It'll become clear. Regardless, he is either.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. He's either ready to add two rules or just about ready to add 2 rules.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm not entirely sure who's speaking at the very beginning of this volume.
Yes.
I think it's Takako, but
oh really?
They seem.
I
think.
That's it. I thought it was Ishigori, but it could have been.
I mean, it could be him too. But the first panel was her earring.
True.
And so I thought that was implying she was the one talking.
That's a good point.
Which is very interesting because she or whoever's speaking seems to imply that Yuta could become another Sukuna. I mean, the dialogue doesn't say that, but the panel, as the dialogue is being said, shows Sukuna.
Yeah, which it's such, like, just by the way, like, I both love and hate at the same time the fact that Akutami so nonchalantly throws in a panel, the first panel ever of the original Sukuna here. It's like, what? Okay, I guess we're just revealing that now.
All right. Hello. Not only that, but implying that Sukuna used to be what Yuta is now, maybe? In that, when sorcerers reach their limit, despair, or what was the... Hold up. Overwhelming aggression that disregards all else like a calamity, that it gets replaced with that. So it's... I don't know. Is this person trying to say that Yuta is lying to himself, or, you know, pushing himself to a certain limit that eventually he'll crack? Is that what's going on? I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I didn't read into it too much. I think I was too distracted by the Sukuna reveal. But I see what you mean. I wonder though.
But that would also imply that Takako had seen Sukuna.
Precisely.
So then it could just be a general statement, and for some reason Sukuna is the poster boy for it. That in her lifetime she saw sorcerers that went beyond their limits.
Precisely.
And cracked or whatever. I don't think you can totally disregard this page.
No.
And what it implies for Yuta's character. In my opinion, I feel this has to be leading to something that Yuta will face in the future.
Right. Yeah, and looking at it again now, I think I agree with you that it's more likely Uro who's speaking,
Uh-huh.
because on the next page it seems like that's more like the start of the next scene or the next part with
Like a new conversation.
Ishigori and Okkotsu. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one page, yeah.
I could be wrong though.
Well, right, but yeah, it seems likely though that it is her.
Yeah.
I guess her prediction is that Yuta will succumb to this overwhelming aggression and
Mm-hmm.
become blind to everything but that eventually. Which I guess right now in the story I have a bit of a hard time seeing it.
I'm right there with you.
Yuta seems like such a pure and good character. Like, sure, he's even sparing the people that he defeats, leaving them
Exactly.
with a point remaining and everything. Like,
Yep.
he's actually going out of his way to be incredibly good, even to the
Mm-hmm.
lesser good people.
Yeah.
If anyone, I feel like this is more of a premonition for Megumi.
Oh. What about Yuji himself?
No,
Is that possible?
well,
Not possible.
I would I wouldn't say so, at least. I think
Yeah.
Megumi is the only one who may potentially
Yeah, you're right.
actually turn that
He-
dark, like a calamity, or I guess Maki is on her way, potentially, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she
But-
seems to still have her sanity.
Yeah.
Feels like,
Uh-huh.
but
Right.
um,
Not Yuta though.
but we, yeah, I agree with you fully on Utah. It's hard for me to believe he would turn dark. He's talking about being blessed because he has friends. I mean, he's all in on that Kool-Aid, man. Like, he's good. I
Uh-huh.
feel like. I will say it could be a fun twist, and maybe it would actually pit the two main characters of the story. I mean, Gojo aside, you could almost say Gojo was a main character.
Mm.
But Yuta and Yuji fighting each other at some point as
Mm.
you know main protagonist and main antagonist could be quite fun. But that all being said, that's just a fun idea, but not one that I think Utah would ever go down. I just don't see it happening.
Right. It would take a lot more for him to cross over like that, I think. Like,
Right. I mean, he would have to see people die for that to start happening, and I mean that's not that's not impossible for this series.
Mm-hmm.
If Maki dies in front of him, he probably would take that pretty hard.
Ooh.
But he's had some important people die in his life already. I just don't think that's gonna shake him.
Not like that. Not yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, not to the point where he's like, okay, I'm going to kill everybody.
Yeah, no, like right. No way. Is that all on Utah?
Yes.
Then let's move on to some smaller ones here. Let's talk a bit about Kasumi Miwa.
Yeah, what the heck is she doing?
Right, what is she doing? Like, she just suddenly enters the calling game, seemingly, and I guess I'm very excited to see what drove her to join. Because, I don't know. Something about the way that she is portrayed here, obviously it's very, very, very brief, but something about it gives me the feeling that she's there for some other reason compared to the other protagonists.
She looks so ominous.
Yeah.
Why? Why? Like, what? I mean, obviously she's probably still thinking about Mekamaru Koichi. Is that his name? Obviously that hurt her hard. Is that still troubling her, or is this something different?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Is she feels very inadequate? Well, here's the other thing. Is she in Sendai, or is she in Tokyo too, or is she in some other place entirely?
Right. I did also question that because she's in the same panel where they're narrating about Yuta, and
Right.
So with that, I feel like we could assume that it's in Sendai, but not necessarily, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, aside from that, there's no indication of the setting,
Mm-hmm.
at least as far as my limited knowledge can tell, that
Mm-hmm.
she's in a specific city.
Precisely.
Maybe there's something in the background or something about the buildings that people are like, oh, that's obviously Sendai. But
Right. Someone could probably. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some person from Sendai is like, come on, guys, get with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little worried about that.
I did also think about it potentially being Shibuya,
Oh, okay.
because that was where she lost Mikamaru.
So with that, I can't remember. Would that be Tokyo 1 or Tokyo 2?
Oh, I don't know actually if Shibuya is in either, or like if it is in one of them, or and if so, which one it is
Because I think
a part of.
Shinjuku was in Tokyo 1.
Oh yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, and
So I think
right.
Shibuya would be Tokyo 1 as well.
Yeah, that makes
Pretty
sense.
sure.
That makes sense. Uh, but I don't know. It was just a random thought I got.
Yeah.
But yeah. Surely we will find out soon.
Mm-hmm.
We also had Momo Nishimiya swoop down at the end of the book, informing Kinji of what's become of Maki.
Mm-hmm.
And like her role there seems to align very much with the rest of the protagonists, like the protagonist group that are there to, add the rules and save the people that they want to save and whatnot. So like I feel like Nishimiya is like her intentions and everything are rather clear, it seems like to me, which is what
Yeah.
makes Miwa's, I guess, reintroduction here feel so different compared to that, like because we have these two to compare between, and Miwa just doesn't seem the same.
No. Not
uh,
high hopes, high spirits at all.
yeah.
But aside from that, maybe they're actually there to do the same thing, where Miwa is telling Yuta about the new plan
Oh yeah,
or the plan to leave it to Maki.
that's a fair point.
Um,
Mm,
and Nishimiya was doing that for Tokyo too,
right.
because it does seem like Maki is working with the Kyoto students. At least she ended up joining with Noritoshi and
Hmm.
Nishimiya. I mean, in the last volume that Maki was in, she met up with Nishimiya.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's fair to say that they would have had some communications
Yeah.
potentially.
Right.
But that
Definitely.
doesn't explain Miwa's somewhat depressing look.
Yeah.
Yeah, proposes postponing the communication rule. I guess that's to keep other players from communicating.
Right. I was thinking, yeah, if it's true that they have another way to do it through Ui, then
Uh-huh.
then yeah, that would limit that communication for other players. Yeah, I think that.
I really think it all it is that in the same way that Yui helped Mei escape against Kenjaku,
Hmm.
he can do that for Maki in some sort of teleportation. Uh, so maybe they can go from colony to colony that way without the need for communication and getting rid of the the rule where you can't leave the colony
Hmm.
until she takes care of all the pesky sorcerers. But
Hmm.
that's my only thinking.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, we did speculate about Ui's technique being some kind of basically teleportation ability back then,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess,
Obviously, no confirmation yet,
uh,
but
yeah, like we don't know for sure, obviously, and it seemed like the way they are setting up Ui's reintroduction to the story at the end of this volume, it make it, or I don't know. To me, it seemed like it would be something, I guess, a bit more convoluted maybe, or a bit more unique than just straight up teleportation. But I don't know. Obviously, I don't know.
That's fair. I mean, knowing the manga, usually it is something more complicated.
Yeah. However, obviously we know that Maki can. Well, she's just so strong that she can pass through barriers now. So I guess combining her ability to do that with someone like Yui, who may be able to just straight up teleport, maybe not through barriers, but to the edge of barriers and whatnot.
Right.
Then the two of them, as a combined item, can function as messenger pigeons, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Yeah, or not just messenger pigeons, but take care of the issue of the antagonistic sorcerers, the ones that they don't want to let loose. And then once they do that, supposedly, they can release the barriers and everything will be okay.
Yeah, right.
They can let people escape.
Yeah, they're going to be useful.
That's really all I have in Maki as well. I mean, she's back. Hooray! And
yeah.
As gorgeous as ever. Still, genocide murderer, but
yes.
I guess we'll just hide that under the rug for now.
I guess we will. And yeah, well, Nishimiya said that she has turned into a monster.
Yeah, I don't deny that. I know some people disagree, but I think it's so cool that Toji was kind of the blueprint for what Maki would become.
Yeah.
And maybe that wasn't the main reason for Toji at all, but that was a reason for him to kind of give us a glimpse of what Maki could become once her, I guess, limiters were released.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, it was. It's really cool to see this new awakening, or full awakening for Maki, despite all the gore.
Right. No, but it was really well set up, the whole thing with her.
Yeah.
But she has teamed up with Noritoshi Kamo, who also has a new good hairstyle now.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think he rocks it.
Yeah. And I guess I'm excited to see him shine a bit more here now, because his role hasn't been huge before, and I'm not saying it's gonna be huge from here on out necessarily, but I'd like to see him shine some more.
Yeah, I mean, other than being a pseudo antagonist back in the day,
yeah,
he hasn't really had a whole lot to do. He mentions that there's a new head of Kamo clan, and he's fallen from grace, and so that's why he's cut his hair, and he's in the situation that he is.
Yep.
Does that have any particularly meaning, or is that just meaningless lore backstory for us to just recognize and then move on?
I hope it has meaning, because I would like to know more about the Kamo family, which we don't really know much about. Like, the Zenin family really has been most of the focus in terms of like these big three families.
True.
All we know about the Kamo family is Noritoshi here, as well as the previous guy who was also called Noritoshi Kamo way back in the day, who was possessed by Sukino. That's about all we know.
Kenjaku.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Kenjaku. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, you're right. That is all we know. And I mean, look at the Gojo family. All we know about the Gojo family is that Gojo exists.
Right.
And that there was someone who had the exact same abilities of Gojo eons ago.
Exactly.
Along with Megumi.
Yeah.
So
and as until we see anyone else from the Gojo family, I'm just going to assume that all of the Gojo family members are just as goofy and funny as Satoru Gojo.
No, there's no way. I bet you they constantly are like, oh my gosh, what have we given birth to? They're hyped that they have the power, that they have basically the king piece or the queen piece, whatever. They have the power, so to speak, but there's no way that they're like him. There's no way.
I guess they're having conflicting feelings about that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like about Noritoshi Kamo though, like
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's interesting that he used to be in line to become the next head of the family, but now he's not. Like I would love to see that kind of family drama or whatever play out.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it had something to do with like he was the in line, but wasn't he like from a mistress or
Yeah, he's a
something?
bastard at least.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So if it's it may be a mistress, probably is. So yeah, like and I believe that's why he is no longer in line because there's someone else. Or well, I guess it was vaguely
Maybe a
put.
new brother was born. Yeah.
Either that or maybe maybe someone else took over leadership from his father or something.
Uh,
We
Potentially.
need to know more about this because there's a lot we don't know. Um, but yeah,
I'm just saying that I could easily see it being brushed aside as just a non-important factor. I would like to see it,
mm,
but I almost feel like he's not going to bother going into it.
right. But do you have any other characters you want to talk about?
I think we talked about everybody.
Great. Then moving into some predictions. Ui's curse technique, I believe, will be revealed and explained to us in the next volume fully.
Good point.
Like that's one thing I feel very strongly about. Like that's coming. And I also reckon we will learn who that big worm is.
Yeah, pretty good feeling about that one.
Uh-huh.
I feel like this next volume will be the Maki Noritoshi fight, and Yui will show off his technique. I mean, I don't know if he probably can't go into the colony and risks of, like we said, being trapped there.
Mm.
But I think they'll beat the worm eventually, and then
Right.
carry on. Uh, I I would kind of be disappointed if the worm was the one to kill Maki. That would kind of be. It's like, oh come on,
Killed by a
you
worm.
survive all that to be killed by a worm, man.
Oh man, yep.
Talk about letdown. But honestly, I I I wrote this down and I'm gonna stick with it.
Uh-huh.
I think Noritoshi will die to the
Oh,
worm. I feel
oh,
like
interesting.
you you don't introduce this curse like this unless there is some sort of, I guess, an impactful moment that is taken. And I
Mm.
think it could help Noritoshi as a character. You know, like maybe you make us care for him and then you take it away.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Yeah, I guess I hadn't put too much thought into like what would happen with the worm or like what the worm would do, but I do agree that the way it was set up at the very end here, it's gotta kill somebody.
Yeah.
If it doesn't kill anyone, I feel like all this, I guess, well, not all this because it wasn't much, but the little bit of hype up for that cursed spirit that there was here, which it seemed like Akutami was trying to make him seem or make it seem quite intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
If yeah, in order for the next volume or for this character to live up to to those expectations, I feel like it's got to do something like yeah, like kill someone.
I mean, it's got to take at least a few chapters to defeat. If it's just one chapter, then it's like, all right, okay.
Then it's kind of funny, yeah.
Don't know what you're trying to do there,
Just
but
yeah.
I will make the prediction that by the end of the volume, maybe I'm jumping the shark here, but Utah will find Kenjaku.
Ooh.
I feel like
Ooh.
they by the end of the volume, the rule will be in place that you can travel between colonies, and Utah, the first colony he'll go to, will be Kenjaku somehow.
Fun.
Although I guess Kenjaku's in a foreign country talking about atomic bombs, so I don't know.
Oh, right.
According to Reggie.
Yeah, right.
But I put it out there. Put it out there.
Cool. No, I like that. I like that prediction. Ultimately, I think the next volume will give us rather a lot of focus on Maki, but I also hope that the
Yeah.
story will start to combine the plots that we've seen in the different colonies and I hope the story will start to combine all those soon, and at least start to do that in the next volume.
I'm really craving that. Like,
Yeah.
please make it all come together.
Mm-hmm.
These all have been happening simultaneously, you know, as we see the rules being added at the end of each battle, basically.
Uh-huh.
So they're happening simultaneously. So let's get to the point where we're past that same however many minutes, and let's move on.
Precisely.
Last thing I'll say, and I don't know if I want to predict this for the next volume because I'm already predicting a lot because I feel like you it's mostly gonna be Maki, but I do want to have an Angel and Megumi moment.
Yeah.
Especially my theory about the Angel being his sister is true, which I'm not believing yet. I'm not putting it to rest yet.
Uh-huh.
But after we did talk, I don't believe it as much. But anyway,
Mm.
I feel like they need to talk and maybe explain the Gojo situation. It's like, well, like Gojo is trapped in this cube thing, so we gotta get him out. And maybe even have to convince the Angel to do that, to undo the I forget what the curse is called, the cube.
Right, that, yeah, precisely. Like to open the back door
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. So, I guess I'm predicting that it'll happen not in the next volume, but at the beginning of the volume after,
Sounds good. Sounds good.
which won't be for a few months.
Oh yes. But yeah, that's fun. I think, yeah, definitely, assuming all these little sub arcs do start to come together at some point in the next volume, which I'm also standing by, that should happen, I think. Then yeah, returning to Megumi and his situation, we gotta do that because that's very pressing right now. Obviously, like, I think he's in the most danger currently, or at least the most potential danger. That said, I would also like to see Yuji again because we haven't seen him in this volume nor the volume before this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, give us back our boy.
What's my boy doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Introduce some more Sukuna fingers for him to eat. It's been a while.
Yeah, wait, how many?
He said he's had 15.
How many does he have left again?
He's got 5 left.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 5 left.
Yeah.
Are we even gonna get all 5 at this point? Like, are we entering in game here? Is calling games in game? What is in game? I don't even know.
That's the question. I think my interpretation is that the culling games are like the lead up to endgame.
Oh.
But who really knows?
So then, are we gonna get the 5 fingers?
We gotta. If, oh my god, dude, if Yuji doesn't eat all of the 20 fingers for like some big showdown at the end, and then he dies to save humanity at the end, then I'm gonna be disappointed. No. I'm saying way too much.
What is he gonna do? He just like walks into a random convenience store and just sees the 5 fingers right next to the Nikuman. And he's like, "Oh, hey, 5 Sukuna fingers, please." You're like, what?
They'll show up. In due time. Each one.
Okay.
They gotta.
Sure.
They gotta. Like, the whole plot from volume 1 was setting this up.
Maybe Kenjaku or the one shrine person has him or something.
Shrine person?
The guy with ice powers. I forget his
Uraume. Right. Right. Maybe one of them. Or maybe it's something I just thought of just now. Maybe someone, like one of the sorcerers of the past, knows more than some others because of them having lived when some fingers were around or something like that. And they know the locations of some fingers, potentially. Regardless, some way, somehow, Yuji will eat all 20 fingers before the end of the story. There's no way he won't, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I don't think I have any more predictions.
I don't either.
Then, with this episode, we are caught up with the English physical releases of the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. It sure took us a while. We released our Volume 1 discussion back in July of 2022. Yeah, so it's been over a year and a half for us to fully catch up with this series, but we are there now. And so from here on out, we're going to start covering this series volume by volume as the new ones are coming out, just like we do with all of the other stuff on the podcast. And since we are caught up now, we're caught up with all of the series that we are covering, we're going to start covering a new manga on the podcast. Next week, we are releasing our Volume 1 discussion of that new manga series, but we are keeping it a secret for now, exactly what manga it is. But I guess I can at least say that it's something quite different compared to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, definitely compared to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
But I will say, if you enjoyed some of our other content, I think you'll enjoy this one as well. It lines up with some of the other ones that we've talked about.
Absolutely, yes. So it's something that it's one that I'm definitely looking forward to discussing, and I think it can give way to some interesting talks.
I'd also throw it in there. It may be a little bit controversial.
Right.
Maybe a little bit controversial.
Precisely. Which is one of the reasons why I think the discussions could be fun for that one. So yeah, it'll be fun.
I think you guys enjoy it.
For sure. But I guess that's it then for this week.
Yeah.
Sweet. Then, if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 22. Bye-bye!
See you later!
Very great.